What's up, my dudes? Boys, apparently, as long as you don't gain an advantage, you can skip any section on the track for as many laps as you want, bro. No biggie. No big deal. Oh, AMA, what the heck was this, man? So, I know this was a big drama thing. A lot of people talking about. I had to come in here and make a video on it. So, I'm not only going to be talking about the Hunter Lawrence skipping the whoops 2 laps in a row thing, but also talking about them just completely taking out the whoop section entirely before they get to the main event. That was certainly a choice. Not really sure what the heck they were doing there, but yeah, let's dig into this. So, this was in the heat race, right? We see a lot of people struggling in the whoops in the mud at San Francisco. The broadcast covers this as well, where Hunter Lawrence, he kind of bounces out of the whoops and gets out of shape, and then he just rides down the side of the track, not even hitting the hardest section on the track, okay? You know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't put the blame on you. Fool me 3 times, the peace sign, load the chopper, let it rain on you. Okay, so he goes out there the next lap and does the exact same thing again. Magically, somehow he bounces in the first couple whoops, bounces off the track, and rides down the side of the whoop section. That reminds me of, you know, when you get like the Z-class dudes out there in qualifying and they're just like skipping the whoops every lap. That's what that reminded me of right there. Even Ricky Carmichael talked about this in the broadcast. He was kind of like, okay, so you skip the whoops 1 lap and then you skip the whoops the next lap. What the heck's going on here? Look, I understand it was crazy conditions, it was muddy conditions, but if you skip the exact same section 2 laps in a row, specifically the hardest, most, you know, time causing you to go slower on the track kind of section on the track, aka the whoops in the crazy mud, rutted up mud, right? You need to be docked some positions. And that's the whole thing to this. Hunter Lawrence was not docked any positions, no penalty. And then AMA goes out there and completely smooths out the whoop section right after that. That's got a lot of people talking about, whoa, what the heck, AMA? Like, is Hunter Lawrence you're you know, in some sort of protected class? You're, you know, golden boy or some shit? The Lawrence boys are golden boys with AMA or something like that? I can certainly see how that argument was brought up there, because normally, I feel like people would have got docked positions for doing that right there, but it's almost like AMA tried to make it look like, well, the only reason Hunter Lawrence had to skip the whoop section 2 laps in the row was because it was such a crazy, gnarly section, aka now we're just going to go out there and smooth it out, so it's like now we don't have to give Hunter Lawrence any kind of penalty for that because we completely changed the track because that's like too difficult for the riders. This is really weird. This is really weird, okay? Listen, it's one thing to talk about the, you know, when they took out the Supercross triples, they made all the rhythm sections easier. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't even think they should have done that. It's like, that's the point of a mudder, guys. Regardless of what happens to the track, they still got to ride on the track. But when you go out there and you literally make it an amateur Supercross track, and then you take the whoops completely out, is it even a Supercross track anymore? That's sort of my question to it. Is it even a Supercross track anymore? I don't really think so. You know, like I say, it's one thing for them to take the triples out, even though that's kind of bizarre to me. Really bizarre to me. I don't really think that did anything beneficial at all. I feel like at the end of the day, they should have just left the track like it was, and then the dudes can just hit the jumps they can or can't hit. That's part of what creates the excitement of a mudder. If you take away all the danger and all the exciting sections on the track, then you just have an amateur mud track. I mean, that's really all it is. And I don't understand this argument of, well, it'll make it more racy. It'll make them where there's not as much of a separator on the track. Well, that's the whole point. That's the whole point of a mud track. That's what makes it fun to watch, is gnarly ass jump sections in the mud and having to go through the whoops in the mud. That is literally what makes a Supercross mudder. I really don't understand why they did that. I don't remember them taking a whoop section out in any previous mudder that I have ever seen before. So that was super weird. But yeah, Hunter Lawrence most certainly should have gotten docked positions for that. It's one thing to miss a section for one lap, but you do it 2 laps in a row. I can't call that a mistake anymore. You know what I mean? And even if it was a mistake, you still need to get docked positions. And I think he actually lost some positions, like that second time that he skipped the whoop section. But still, like, that literally could have been a difference maker between, you know, somebody making it to a main event or not, with how gnarly they were in this particular San Francisco, you know, heat race. So the fact he didn't get docked any positions, that was insane. But yeah, definitely let me know down in the comments what you guys thought. But I just don't think they should have changed anything about the track. But most certainly they should not have taken the whoops out. It would have been one thing if they would have went out there and kind of fixed on the whoops a little bit before the main event or whatever, but it's literally not a Supercross track without a whoop section. That'd be like if they'd have went out there and just flattened out the finish line jump, or just went out there and flattened out a rhythm section completely. Like, you just wouldn't do that. So why would they do that in the whoop section? It doesn't make any sense. I don't care how much you try to say, well, it was so gnarly. Yeah, that's what happens in a mudder. That's exactly what happens in a mudder. And also, I feel like when you talk about, but it'll make it more racy, or it'll take away the separating, I just felt like the racing would have been better had they kept the whoop section in there. It would have made more potential for maybe like a Tomac to be able to catch up to a Sexton out front. I feel like when they smoothed the whoops out and they rolled the rhythms down and they, you know, they made the triples into doubles, it really made it to where it was just a game of the start. I mean, that's really all it was. Who got the start? That was basically all it was, man. I feel like you create better racing. Like, good racing to me is not when everybody is in a perfect single file line and nobody passes anybody, but everybody's really close. That's not good racing to me. Good racing to me is when you have separating difficult rhythms and sections and obstacles and whoops, to the point to where somebody that's really good on the track can come from the back of the pack, or they can have a crash and still come back. Or it seems like you get a lot more passing when you have the more difficult separating rhythms and whoops and jumps. Some people have got that backwards ass idea on that whole thing. They think if you make everything easier and you even out the playing field, then all of a sudden the racing is better. It's not better racing when everybody is in a single file line for the entire main event and nobody passes anybody. That's not better racing. Y'all boys have somehow gotten that confused, backwards, mixed up in your head. That's not better racing, man. It's just not. And that's kind of what I feel like turned into this San Francisco main event right here. They made everything so easy on the track to the point to where it just wasn't the same thing anymore. And I also feel like that when they make the non-mudder tracks where there's no separating rhythms, you know, and when they go out there, they went out there in Anaheim 1, I believe it was, where they smoothed out that rhythm where Jet was hitting some massive, you know, 5 jump or something. That was dumb as shit. These are professional Supercross racers, okay? If you get some privateer out there that shouldn't be risking hitting some big jump, then he just won't hit that big jump. You know, you don't have to change the rhythms to try to protect somebody at the level of a Jet Lawrence or an Eli Tomac. I promise you, you do not have to go out there and baby them by making the track easier so they won't hurt themselves. That's stupid. That doesn't even make sense, bro. That does not even make sense, bro. That's part of why James Stewart was able to create such a legacy was because you didn't go out there and smooth out every rhythm on the track. He was able to hit stewable rhythms, quad 5 daddy jumps. That's what made the legacy of James Stewart, okay? AMA, you do realize you're damn near limiting these tracks to a point where people can't even hit stewable rhythms anymore. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see certain jump rhythms that only a Jet Lawrence can hit or only an Eli Tomac can hit. That's what separates those boys. Okay? Like that's what makes Supercross fun to watch to me. And when you go out there and you just take away a whoop section, it's not a Supercross track anymore. It's just not. So, either way, that's my opinion on it at the end of the day. That's how I feel about it.